All right, good afternoon, everybody. I've seen a couple of you guys twice today, which is, I'm loving the sales huddle. It's definitely something that is very, very beneficial for everyone involved. I've had some really great interactions with a lot of you in terms of really getting this thing kicked off. Barb, I've got to see your lovely face a couple times today. How are you? I hope you're doing well. So, all in all, I'm excited for us to be getting much more into, and when I say much more into the weeds, but not really in the weeds. I think that that's the wrong term, but getting more into, we're now starting to get into, okay, how do we actually do some of this? I feel like in the last couple of weeks we've done a great job at talking to you about, okay, how do we, what is it? What's Prosperity Tax Advisors? Same thing with some of these other calls. We've been on like some of these Clearwater calls where it's like, okay, what does Clearwater do? What are we selling? So we've kind of covered a lot of some of these basics and fundamentals, and I feel like in the last couple of weeks we've done a great job. The PTA crew has done a great job at pulling together some awesome training. So Mitch, make sure that you let the crew know that obviously between the training last week with Stephanie and then Mike the week before, those have been absolutely amazing. So, my hat's off to that crew for sure. But, today we're going to call it simpler and scarier, because I know for some of you that phone feels like a 75-pound lead weight that when you get it up to your head makes your brain fry. And so that's why you don't make, any phone calls, is because you don't want to fry your brain. So I understand. But it's brain frying time, people. It's time to have the rubber meet the road. And we're gonna separate the wheat from the chaff here. We are going to see who is actually here to make some changes in both their life as well as the lives of others. And I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to take this thing and kick it to another level. So here, let's do this. In the chats, we got a couple of you on here. Who here is excited to actually get some clients in the door with Prosperity Tax Advisors? I want to see it in the chat. Light it up. We're sitting here waiting for you. God, I'm in a spicy mood. Good. Daniel, let's go. Miguel, PTA, all the way. Who else? 2 people? Daniel, I've been ready for 8 minutes. Good stuff. Jerry, I am. Darren, let's rock and roll. Waylani. I think I'm saying your name. Yes. Clients for tax advantages. Melissa, I am. Good. This is great. Folks, it seems like you're ready. So let's get to it. Let's talk about some scripts here. Mitch, are you? I've got the script up on my side, so because I'll be the one sharing that piece. But we got Mitch here, who's with the PTA sales team. And Mitch, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself? I'll get stuff pulled up on my end, and then we'll dive right in.
Sure. I'm old, so we'll start with that, right? I've been doing this a bit.
Mitch, the old man.
Yeah, all kinds of different things. Everything from, and this will tell you how old I am. I used to sell yellow page ads. I've ran my own company a few times. I've had internet businesses, and so when I'm talking to people about Prosperity Tax Advisors, I come a little bit from the background of having my own business and doing and dealing with taxes myself, and so there's a little bit of empathy that goes along with that when I'm presenting to these people. It's really more of a conversation that just has to do with what are their goals, what are they looking for in life, really. We've modified our presentation somewhat and recently, and it's actually going better than it had in the past, where we're actually, when we're talking to the client, at least initially, it's more about what are their goals and where are they trying to get to in their business, so that when we start talking about the tax part of the situation, it's less about how much they're saving on the taxes, which, that's always important, right? We last week, no, week before last, we closed three deals in one day. One was for 200,000, one was for 900,000, one was for $1.8 million in savings. So not that those are unsubstantial amounts, but ultimately, even with those big amounts, it still ends up being is it's not that dollar amount. It's what are you going to do with that, right? Like as I've got another client who I haven't closed yet. He's close. And his thing was that his initial savings was going to be somewhere around 50 or 60,000. And for him, he was like, I don't know if that's substantial enough for me to bother going through this. And initially that was his objection to this whole thing. And when we broke it down to, well, it's really not about that 35, 40, $50,000. It's what are you going to do with that 35, 40, $50,000 and what are your goals long term? And when it kind of came down to him visualizing, well, it's 35 this year. Well, and you're planning on growing next year. So next year it should be at least 45 or 50 by the time you get to the goal of next year. And then what about the following year? So in a 5-year plan, that 35,000 could really be 350,000. And all of a sudden, it changes the whole outlook of this because it's not what you're saving in one year. It's what are your ultimate goals and what are you going to do every year moving forward once you're on this plan with us. So that's a little bit about what we're doing in the direction we're taking with the presentation. So give you an idea as that when we're talking to your clients, to kind of where we're going to go with that.
That's awesome. No, and that's great. And I think that it's a good point. Sometimes we lose track of uh, like we're not saving money for saving money's sake. It's a good point,
Right.
but I think we all kind of sometimes forget, and maybe some of us even get caught up on the fact that it's a scary topic for some to talk about taxes, and you might even feel a little backed off from doing so. But in reality, you have to look at, well, why would you talk to someone about their taxes if not for a specific reason, like you're saying? Like the whole purpose behind doing this is because it frees up cash flow for something. So the question becomes, and this is actually a good training point, Mitch, and I'm glad you actually brought this up, because if you are having conversations with people, and especially for the pro members, this is probably something we'll end up diving into a lot deeper. But for everyone who's here, if you're not really getting to the bottom of their motivations in life, like, say you're doing investments, well, why? What are those investments supposed to solve for them? Is it just a rate of return? Is that it? Are you saving them taxes just because, they want to stick it to Uncle Sam? Well, let's be honest. For some people, that's probably enough. That's
Yeah.
probably plenty. In fact, that might be their prime motivation. But I don't think that most people are going to have that as their prime motivation for diving into something in life. That's not usually the kind of thing that gets someone up in the morning, right? But making an extra 50,000 hit your profit maybe means you put it back in your business. Or let's say it means so you can, send your kids to a private school. Or maybe it's so that you can buy an investment property. It might be the difference between them building a second source of income and then them not having a second source of income. But wait a second. Even buying an investment property, is that really a base, like a low enough level motivation for someone? Maybe not. That probably isn't. In fact, it almost guaranteed isn't. Why do they want that second property? Why do they want to make more money? You got to get to these really fundamental levels of motivation. Because why do they want, oh, free up time? I want to free up time. That's why I want to invest in more properties. But why do you want to free up time? What do you intend to do with that time? Well, I've always wanted to work with my church, and I've just felt that I can't do that until I know my family's safe. Bingo. That is a fundamental level motivation. Well, you could even go a hint lower than that. Well, why do you want to work with your church? See, that might be deep enough, and maybe they know why, but you need to understand why. Well, I feel that my church is contributing to the blank salvation of mankind. It could be something as lofty as that, but that might be the thing that they actually resonate with. if you don't get to that baseline fundamental motivation, you're probably going to have an uphill battle selling them or finding things for them across the boards, not just with PTA. So, Mitch, I'm glad you brought that up because that is a baseline. Yeah, Mark, 100%. It's not like I made this up. You know what I mean?
Nope.
I've
And it
only
wasn't
read
my
a
idea
lot of
either.
sales books.
It
Yeah.
was it was Mike. Mike came up with that concept through a sales program that he's part of, and that sales program is what allowed us to get to that, closing 3 deals in one day, right?
Right.
And it was a change of it was a total change of the way. What's the goal of the presentation? And that is to really dig deep into what is their motivation, and it's not the money. It's never the money.
Yeah, it's
It's
true.
always the thing that the money can help them do.
No, and it's a very good point. I think a lot of us lose track of that point. So I'm literally right now, just in case you guys are wondering why I'm looking off to the side, dive into fundamental motivations on Better Pro. Guys, Better Pro is hot. I'm telling you right now, we're having a lot of fun over there, and I see a couple of you in here. Uh, what? Give me some feedback. What do you guys think on Better Pro so far? The sales huddle, everything. How you feeling? Feeling good? I know some of you are. So let's get into it. Since I guess not everyone wants to chime in, calling you out, Barb, Bridget. I see you, Miguel.
I'll chime
Um,
in. I'll chime in. I'll chime in.
good. Thank you.
I didn't know if you want us to do things. No, Better Pro is amazing. I mean, you guys, just today, I shift every day into a better place. A better place. But I shifted. It's like there's things that you've taught us to even today. I don't have my notes with me, but just actually getting into my list and how to adjust my thought process and really what I've been doing. I don't want to say it's completely wrong, but it's completely wrong, y'all. So we're gonna shift everything, and then Better Pro has been. I'm so happy. I'm grateful that you guys have brought this to our platform, and will continue to enjoy it. So there you go.
Love it. Beautiful. Awesome. Well, then let's get into it. Let's talk. Let's talk a script. Sound good to everyone? Let's get into the script, and then we'll hit some Q&A because I'm sure that even a script will drudge up some questions for people. So let me share my screen. There we go. Let's make this a little bigger so you guys can see it a bit better. So we are talking about a script for tax assessment. So let's zoom in a bit here. Obviously, we're seeing here the purpose of this script. Like, why do we care about this particular script? Well, you're starting a conversation with a business owner about saving money in their current year's taxes. So recognize, I'm sure a lot of you were on the call last week where the PTA crew, Stephanie specifically, dove into accounting practices. Well, this isn't that script. This is a script to go over a tax assessment. Now, their tax assessment since the beginning has shifted in its focus. It now dives into accounting too. So you've got both pieces there. But the point is I want you to keep this extremely, extremely simple. Okay? So this is for personal contacts, warm market, people you know, or referrals from people that you know. Okay? This is not a cold calling script. This is not detailed enough, as you can see by how short this script is. This is not detailed enough to go into with someone you don't have a warm relationship with, okay? But it's very simple. Bridget, you want to be my guinea pig? All positive answers for this one. Oh,
All right.
just got on. There we are. Okay. Hey, Bridget, how's it going?
It's great. How you doing?
Good, good. It's been a busy week. Lots going on. The kids are out of school for summer, so it's always exciting to run a business while also dealing with kids. How about you?
Oh gosh, I know. I know. Well, I've got all my grandkids, so I'm on a different page of that. But yeah, I'm trying to see them and also trying to run a business as well. So it can be
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah, and it's so funny that you say that because that's kind of what got me thinking of you. I was working with a company, and I know you run a business. So I actually wanted to check with you on something, and I know it's kind of like slightly off to the side, but how much are you paying each year in taxes? And don't worry, it ties directly back to what we were talking about as like a business owner.
How much do I pay in taxes, or like
Yeah.
the bottom line after when I write my
Yeah,
check to
like
the
when you stroke a check to the IRS, how
Okay.
much are you paying?
I'd have to really talk to my accountant, but I'm thinking it's somewhere around maybe 100,000.
Yeah, so it's a chunk of change, and that's kind of why I thought of you because I know we've worked on a couple things in the past. You know, we've obviously done here. Let's pretend I'm in the insurance industry, like some of you are. I know
Mhm.
we've done some life insurance, and I just remember just kind of like the range of income. I figured this was probably something that would be of value to you. So, do you think you're on track this year to do probably something similar in terms of income? Like I know that's what you paid last year, but do you think this year's going to be similar?
Yeah, but I think actually this year is going to be a little bit better, so I'm expecting the good old IRS guy to get a little
Come and
bit more.
take their chunk. Yeah, take their pound of flesh. Well, hey, here's what it is, and this is guys, this is the script. This is the important part, okay? I have a potentially great way to help you reduce your tax bill. And with some of our clients that I've sent over there, we're seeing that they're saving between 20 and 30% on their taxes. I think that it's probably something kind of based on what we've talked about in the past and your income that would be it would be something notable enough that it would help you with your situation.
That sounds interesting. I kind of like to learn a little bit more.
Of course, yeah. Well, and then this is where, depending on the if it's general, if their response is general, I would just say something probably in the what's the company range because that's kind of what she's asking for, obviously. But if you know you have a couple answers here, what's the company? How much do they charge? I already have a CPA. I have a tax strategist. Is it legitimate? So obviously, if she goes down one of those avenues, we have those answers here. But let's just say she's basically asking, like, tell me more would be tell me more about the company, right? So the firm is Prosperity Tax Advisors. They're a team of financial advisors, forensic CPAs, tax specialists. They have some tax attorneys in there as well. And they do tax planning in the current year. So think of your CPA. You know, you usually get with your CPA probably at the beginning of the year, right? And you usually
Yes.
only chat with them then. Yeah. So PTA does something different. Prosperity Tax Advisors, they are meeting you during the year. So they have advanced software that goes through the 70 pages of the IRS tax code and finds every tax code that would apply to your business, both on a federal, state, and local level. So they're doing a very deep dive and finding all the tax codes basically that apply to your situation that can save you money.
I think that sounds promising for sure.
Yeah.
Now, does it cost a lot to do it?
Well, you know, in here, okay, so here's one thing that I would do. I would definitely, if there, I would, after you answer a question here, this is one thing that I would just do in general so everyone can think of it. I would go, here's the thing. I'm sure you have a bunch of other questions on this. What I think is probably smart, like I would have probably cut her off at the pass before she even got to asking another question and try and just route her to scheduling, okay? I would say something like, after I answered the question, so let's pretend I said, you know, save you money on a federal, state, and local level. Honestly, here's the thing. I'm sure you have a bunch of other questions. What I think is probably best, Bridget, is why don't we just schedule a 15-minute, a 45-minute discovery call, 30 to 45-minute discovery call, where you can at least get some of these real questions answered? Because I don't want to go too deep into it. Like, I've been working with them for a bit, but I'm not a CPA. So I don't want to answer any of these questions incorrectly. So that's how I would probably head her off at the pass and just go, you know, based on the amount that you are paying in taxes, it sounds like it's probably something that could be very notable to you. You know what I mean? Does that sound right to you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
So
yeah. You know what?
if
Anything I can save money and use it towards building the business.
exactly, that's exactly right. Because you know we've been talking. I know you and I have been talking about how you want to expand your business to another state. So you know, think of what an extra, even if it's 20 to 30% of 100 grand, think of what an extra $30,000 would do for you each year. So again, you see how you can tie it back to their baseline motivations that hopefully you understand some of at this point. But if you don't, then you know you wanna over the course of your relationship understand some of those. But yeah, here's the thing, folks. Some of you, I know some people don't want to get into talking about the money and the price. Okay. So this is a two-part answer. If you want to just deal in this first part, well, here's the thing. She did answer, she asked the question, how much do they charge? So I would say they do a very comprehensive tax analysis and they charge $4,500 for that. But to give you an idea, let's say you wanted to go forward with implementation, they do roll that full $4,500 into the cost of implementation. So, if it seems like something that's actually a good fit for you, really the assessment and the implementation are one fee. So there's more to that, obviously, when it gets to the implementation side, but the assessment is only $4,500. And it's also important the tone in which you say that. If you're talking to someone who pays $100,000 in taxes and you just told them, hey, we can save you 20 to 30% and we're going to do an assessment that's only $4,500, don't forget, $4,500 might sound a lot to you, depending on your circumstances, but to someone who's stroking a check every year for $100,000 to the IRS in taxes, they're probably not seeing that as an objection. Does that make sense? I just know some of you are sitting there going, it sounds like a lot of money, but you have to put yourself in the shoes of the other person. Don't sit in your shoes if that sounds like a lot of money to you. Does that make sense?
And I just wanted to bring up
Yeah.
when you're asking somebody, how much they pay in taxes, and Bridget said, well, is it that check I'm writing at the end of the year? Well, usually the check at the end of the year is only a part of what they're paying in taxes. So if she's writing a check for $100,000 at the end of the year, she's probably also cutting quarterly checks. And if she's getting a W-2 from her S corp, means there's probably withholding in there as well. So that 100 could easily be 150 or 200. It all depends. Ultimately, it's really how much you're writing in total at the end of the year, and it's usually a lot more than whatever that check is that cut at the end.
Yeah, it's a great point. That's a very good point. Let's just hit up these second and third little questions we have here. So let's say someone says, I already have a CPA. Again, there are some fundamental sales rules that we are covering. Again, like even Bridget was talking about a minute ago, we're covering a lot of like, how do you take a script and how do you actually use it? Well, you kind of also have to understand some of the other best practices when it comes to sales, because you'll note we're using one even right here with this CPA. Fantastic. You're not, it's not a negative, right? If they're saying, I already have a CPA, fantastic. Well, PTA actually really doesn't work with clients unless they already have a tax team. So that's excellent that you have a CPA already. And also, frankly, the role of a CPA is very different from a tax strategist. PTA will work with you, with your CPA, to properly implement tax strategy. And this is really the important part here. If you're happy with your CPA, they are not looking to replace him. So that's really the point. That's what you have to get across to them. PTA is not there to replace your CPA. It's perfect that you already have one, because that means that you're in the right, at least in the right range where you are taking your taxes at least somewhat seriously. So that's kind of an important point. Same thing here. I already have a tax strategist. I'm sure that this one, honestly, is going to be pretty rare. I don't think many people have a tax strategist. But if they do, well, if you're still paying taxes, then it might be a good idea to get a second opinion to help reduce that bill further. It can't hurt. We're going to find even with their $4,500, if they can't find $15,000 or more in savings, they give you a full money back guarantee. So you don't really have much to worry about. That should actually, I'll put that in here, $15K money back guarantee. Okay, good. So is this legitimate? I don't know that you'll get a ton of that question. Maybe you will. But, if it's true, like, for instance, I know Pete Alexander's working with them. They're about to dive into the tax strategy element. They did a whole number on all of his, just on the basic accounting practices. But in this case, Pete could say this. I've worked with them myself, and I think it's worth your time to do an intro call with them. From there, you can see for yourself. But the tax planning team is licensed and won't recommend anything to you that isn't legal, moral, ethical. They'll document and substantiate any recommendation they implement, and they offer audit protection on anything that they do. So you can kind of see how it's, it's pretty disarming when you cover it from that angle. So I'm gonna get this script out to everyone here, but I don't really have a way of doing it at this moment. But what would really be best is I would love for people to be pairing up. So what we'll do is we'll make sure to also be doing that on the Better Pro call. We're gonna dive in on some scripts probably next week and pair everyone up and actually go through these. But I will get this script out to everyone. I'll put it in the PTA Mighty Networks, and I'll show you obviously where to do that now here. So to get to the PTA Mighty Networks, you would go into here. Let's actually do it from betterincome.com. Okay, so from here, you're going to go to the Better Network. So let me do that slower. Sorry, you go to Quick Links. And then from this Quick Links box, you'll see this one that says the Better Network. Okay, so you click on the Better Network. Oops. Click on the Better Network and then scroll down to Prosperity Tax Advisors on the side panel. It's under the Product Partners tab. Click in here. And then I will put the scripts right at the top. In fact, here, watch. You guys get to be here with us, with me live, while I create a new section. Check this out. You get to see the back end of how this is done. PTA scripts. So now we have a section. And this is going to be at the very top, okay? So once I drop that script in here, you'll see it'll be right under the welcome to the PTA referral program. So that's where that'll sit. And then, yeah, I want to make sure that we have give everyone an opportunity here to handle any questions that you might have. But otherwise, you know, that's where you will find that script. So what questions does everybody have? I'm really interested in seeing what is holding you back from getting into action on this one, because I know a lot of you are financial services, financial advisors, and this should be the most interesting thing you have in terms of getting new leads. It's unquestionably the most interesting door opener that I can think of, and I've sold insurance for nearly a decade now, and it's the greatest tool I've ever used. Miguel, submitting a lead today with PTA. Do you want to hop on and tell us a little about it? Who's this person you're submitting over?
It's a restaurant owner over at in the Detroit metropolitan area. But I think he's going to need more help than just the tax advisory. I think
some accounting basics are out.
I think so, right?
Okay.
He's got a big mess. The only problem is I'm not sure if I need to be in the phone calls there because he speaks Spanish. He's got about 3 restaurants, and yeah, he's got a mess of things. He can't grow his business because of the way he's performing his accounting. He's getting a lot of tax savings right now by doing some things that may not be right. So
does he have someone on his side who can represent him in English? Here's the thing, it's just for everyone to think with this, it's a bit too much of a liability on PTA's side to not have someone on the client side who speaks English. So maybe have them bring, like, if they've got, you know, someone in their family that speaks English, have that person be there, because they need to, obviously the client side needs to have some English speaking component.
And I'm trying to get his current accounting people to be on the call.
Great. Okay. Yeah, because their side just has to PTA's team needs to be able to not have any misunderstandings. That's kind of that big and important part. But Miguel, that's awesome. I've seen you take off like a rocket in the last week here. So I'm very excited to see what you're going to pull off this month. Very good. Okay, what other questions do we have here? Questions, folks. Who's got questions? I'm sure you have them.
I just want to clarify that the $4,500 will go towards the actual when they do their, so if they're getting, you know, $50,000 back, they'll get that minus, or that fee. So
yes, that's right. So, and I want to, for everyone who I'm sure has been around for a little bit here with PTA, it used to be cheaper, but here's the thing: at the cheaper rate, they weren't able to really dive in deep enough to, one, take a look at some of the accounting practices, because unfortunately a lot of the clients that have come over, not just from Better, but they've been telling me that it's a lot of the clients have out the accounting is just wrong. Their bookkeeper is not doing a good job, so the fundamentals, like their foundation, is not right. So they needed to dig deeper. And then also, we get a little commission also on that up front. So, it's $4,500. The person who actually submits the lead, so the direct referrer, gets $450 of that. So you're getting 10% of that as well. And then the full $4,500 goes toward the actual cost of the implementation. So yeah, so the whole $4,500 goes toward implementation. You get a little commission, but at least it's like you get something. So that's obviously really, really useful. And it's 10%. That's great. Like I that's mostly what you ever get anywhere. So no, I think that's a good point. $4,500 is that amount though. And they're going to get an understanding of everything on the strategy side, but then also they're going to understand some of the pieces that Stephanie talked about last week on, is their bookkeeper reconciling their accounts? Does everything pair up from the accounts to their bookkeeping software like QuickBooks? Are they getting financials? Do they have a profit and loss? Do they have a balance sheet? All these things are fundamental pieces to you're understanding the finances of a business. So if you don't understand those pieces, it's sort of the blind leading the blind then, in terms of the person's business. So it's good that they cover both pieces. I've seen a lot of my clients who I have a friend who he has a business. He pays $250,000 in taxes, and he signed up for the tax assessment, and then we couldn't for the life of us get him to send in his docs. And then one day I got on with him, and he's just like, I don't even think this was like a month and a half ago. He's like, I don't even think that I have a P&L for 2024 yet. And like, I haven't talked to my bookkeeper in like 3 months. And I'm like, what do you mean you haven't talked to your bookkeeper in 3 months and you don't have a P&L? It's like, I think at that point it was end of May and he didn't have a P&L. Means his bookkeeper's not doing their job. And he paid $250,000 in taxes last year. So you wouldn't necessarily think someone who paid $250,000 in taxes doesn't have a P&L by mid-year. That doesn't seem to make sense. And he runs a decent sized business. So don't be shocked when you find out that some of these guys don't actually have any of their financial fundamentals in place. It's pretty amazing how bad it is out there for a lot of people.
Right.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Like Curtis was mentioning earlier, that we're not necessarily looking to take over someone's CPA if they're happy with their CPA. But, in the last probably 4 or 5 clients that we worked with, they fired their CPAs and they hired us. And not because we were trying to sell us as a better CPA. It's because literally their CPAs were screwing up. I mean, and they thought they had a great CPA. They were happy with their CPA until we said, well, look, there's a $400,000 error.
Rounding error.
That's not even a joke. $427,000 was an error that was found recently. And that client is using it. They switched. They fired their CPA as of today and hired us. So again, it's not what we're trying to, but oftentimes people just think that they're happy with their CPA because they don't know any better until they see the actual numbers and realize, oh, well, there's an issue.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And that's a great comparison, but sometimes the accounting side, the bookkeeping side of this can be really, really bad. I remember Stephanie mentioned actually a client that someone on Hector Bones' team sent over, Elvira. She sent over a client, and that client is basically hiring PTA to do a 20-year look back. So they're looking at 20 years of books because basically the business partners are kind of suing each other. One of them was like, I'm pretty sure you're stealing millions from us. So they went to court, and the judge ordered the business partner to open up his books, and in the first couple weeks, Stephanie has found, I believe it's $7 or $8 million in fraud so far. Can you imagine your business partner stealing $7 million from you? Are you really, you know, like, I'm pretty sure you're not feeling too bad about whatever fee PTA is charging. The point is, when you get to the point where you're paying a lot in taxes or you have complex business books, you do need to hire professionals. That's just the way it goes. And that is what PTA does. They're pros in this arena. There's, we're working with them for a very exact reason. We're not doing it just because we couldn't find someone better. Like, there's no lack of CPAs around. Not
For
at all.
sure.
There's tons and tons and tons and tons. And I'm sure you all, know your fair share of CPAs, but are they running around saving you or people that you work with money like that? Are they actually getting that kind of are they getting that kind of a result with your clientele? And if not, that's why PTA is here. So I'm putting this script in here because it seems, I get it, some of you are interested in seeing this script right now. So I'm dropping it into Mighty Networks right now. Mitch, do you want to handle a couple questions while I drop this in?
Yeah. Bridget asked
Awesome.
about, if for some reason we can't find $15,000 in savings. The guarantee is a real guarantee. We have refunded a few people, not many, and usually the only time we're refunding somebody is if when they gave us their original data, it wasn't correct. Just one example, I had a roofing guy last year where he told me he did 2.5 million gross and was sure he had paid over $50,000 in taxes. And in the end, when we actually looked at his numbers, he did do 2.5 million gross, but he had an $83,000 loss against the 2.5 million. So we can't make it up, right? We don't do that. So we had to refund his money because we can't find savings where there is none, right? But really, if we're hitting that minimum of $50,000 that's what they owed in taxes was 50,000. It would be highly unusual for us not to be able to find a minimum of 15,000, usually more. So yeah, the guarantee is a legit guarantee, and we will do that. And then Miguel asked about, how do we walk the fine line of replacing their CPA? You don't, right? Like everything we stress, and when we talk to them as well, is that we are not looking to replace your CPA. And really, we're not. If the CPA is doing a great job, it's all good. So don't do that, right? Like, don't talk to them about trying to change their CPA unless they're not happy with their CPA. And more, I've been kind of running into that. Lately, I've been running into people who are like, well, I'm just not happy with my CPA, right? They meet with us once a year, and really, I know I should be doing more. And we meet with our clients quarterly because it's important. So Rupert asked, is the 15,000 minimum in order for the 4,500 to be? Well, yeah. So the guarantee is we find you a minimum of 15,000, or we refund the $4,500. And again, that is the minimum. I mean, we rarely are we going to find 15,000. We're really, because at some point it doesn't even make sense for us if it's only $15,000 in savings. We really want to be saving clients at least 30, 40, 50,000. And so, yeah, that's kind of where that is. Big name companies, so generally we say big name companies, you're talking about, big giant companies that are doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And that's not usually who our client is. Someone who's that big, who probably already has teams of CPAs and accountants and tax strategists. We're really generally looking at people who are making, usually they're netting about 200, 250 minimum, like net, not gross, but netting, all the way up to 10, 15, 20 million in that range, maybe a little more, but generally much bigger than that. And we're not, they're going to have somebody already that's beyond what we're able to do. So yes, so the answer to that question is no. I don't have big name companies I can drop names for, because that's not who we're working with. We're not working with big giant companies. I do have some case studies I can send over. We have some new ones, that we We did save somebody 2.8 million last year. This new gentleman, we saved 1.7, 1.8 just recently. I've got another company where they're a $120 million a year company, and we saved them 900,000. And those are on the high end, right? Like I said, if you've got somebody who's making 2 or 300,000, you're in the right ballpark too. One other thing I would say is that from the beginning, we've been careful to suggest that we can only help business owners and people who are 1099, not W-2. And we've got some new strategies that will work with W-2 clients if they're willing to do some investment along with the tax savings. And again, those are typically going to be people who are making at least 3, 4, 5, 600,000 in that range, as a W-2. And we can work with those people as well.
There you go. Yeah. So I just added the PTA script into Better Network. Let me show everyone here. So as you can see here, I'll go back through the trip. So if you're over here on betterincome.com, go to quick links over here. So if you're over in quick links, quick links, scroll down a little bit into the middle of the box, you'll see the Better Network. Click in, and I'm already in the Prosperity Tax Advisor area because it takes you to wherever you were last. But let's say it brought you to the feed. You'll just note that we've got Better Courses and Chat, and then Product Partners over here. So if you come over here to Product Partners, you will see Prosperity Tax Advisors here. When you click in, it's just that first section, PTA Scripts, Tax Assessment Script. So you click in here, and then you just click on the document, download button. You click on that, and it'll just download the script for you. And I'm going to pretty it up a little bit. I'll have one of our graphic designers clean it up a bit. But long and the short of it, though, it'll be the same content. So
Right.
That's where you'll find that script.
Curtis, can you show them the link to set up an appointment with me where, like anybody on this call today or anybody that you can recommend. I'm happy to do one-on-one calls with you guys. I've already done that with a number of the reps. To understand it better, more in depth, if you'd like to, feel free to reach out to me. Curtis will show you where the link is to set that time up there.
Yeah, definitely.
Bridget asked another question, another good question.
So here, let me just show really quick, and
right.
then we'll dive into that question. So if you're on betterincome.com and you scroll down, you'll see my personalized links here. And then right in the middle here is Prosperity Tax Advisors. Submit a tax planning client. You just click into this link, and then it'll bring you over to the Pro Tax sales page, which is PTA. And then if you click in here, you'll see Prosperity Tax Advisors. And then you just put in the client's info, and I would do this with them. I would go in with them and pull all this info from them, and then the next page just brings you to a normal Calendly. And then from that, just do your normal scheduling questions. Okay, is this week or next week better for you? This week, great. What do you think? Beginning of the week? End of the week? End of the week. Excellent. Okay, I know that they have something. I see something Thursday and Friday here. Friday, great. Morning or afternoon. Just do the two options till you get them down to, till you get them down to the specific time. Sorry, I'm getting text messages as well.
And then after you set the appointment for them, on the second page, it will allow you to add guests. So please add yourself as a guest so that you can show up on the call. You don't have to stay on the call a long time, but if you just do an intro and a little bit of edification, tell them, how great PTA is and what a nice guy I am, and whatever it takes to get them comfortable, right?
Yeah, no, that's great.
So
that is
Bridget,
what you should do. Is I would stay on all the calls. That's what I would do. But only unless a client tells me otherwise. So
right.
If the client says, "Hey, I'd like to dive in," I'm gonna assess that though earlier. I'm gonna find out when I am doing this step, when I'm going through this information. I'm gonna be finding out from them, do they want me there? Because if they don't want me there, then that's when I'm gonna make sure to, like he said, talk up the PTA team and Mitch or whoever it is that is on the sales team that they're meeting with. I'm going to talk them up, and then I'm going to go, okay, well, so you guys can get into an undistracted conversation. I'll hop off and just let me know if you need me or if there's any questions that you have, and I'm happy to hop on, or you can talk to me after. So get off if you think that your presence is going to result in them not opening up, because you need them to open up. That's a very important part of it.
For sure.
I feel like there was another thing that I was going to tell you or show you. Shoot. All right. Well, oh, yeah. So Brian Kitchen was asking me via text, is there a finder's fee when it comes to switching out the accountant? So, yes, the same amount of compensation is paid for a client on tax, if they go forward and do implementation, as if they're signing up as a client for PTA. It's the same commission. So I have to do the math, but I think it's like 8% or 5% of the revenue generated. But I'll look that up and pull that over for you guys, so you can see exactly what that amount of money is. But the point is, yeah, any service that they do, you're going to get a commission for. That's just the way that goes. Cool. All right. Well, there's some other questions here for sure.
Yeah. So Bridget asked about the numbers of a typical sale. So with if there was $100,000 savings, what would the fee be? What's the percentage plus the 4,500? So the way it works is the 4,500 is for the tax analysis, and then we're going to guarantee $15,000 in actual savings. Oftentimes people think that the 15,000 is like, we'll find $15,000 in write-offs, which is not as good of a deal, right? It's actually $15,000 less that they're going to pay the IRS than they would have had they not used us. And then beyond that, the 4,500 would be applied to the fee for the implementation, there's a lot of work that goes into the implementation of these strategies. And then that's going to be a percentage of the savings. And honestly, at this point, we'd rather not have you guys talk about that at all, right? Like, and Curtis, correct me, but that's something that shouldn't be talked about until we get to the point where they understand the value before we get to where we're talking about the percentage of savings.
I think it depends. I would say, okay, here. For everyone, whole cloth. If we want to paint everyone with the same brush, then correct. Then what he's saying is 100% correct. But for instance, I have certain clients who are going to be like, no, dude, don't sales pitch me. Just tell me how much this is. Like, you know how much I hate the IRS. I don't, if I could get away with not paying a penny in taxes and it's legal, I'm doing it. So, okay, it's 40%. Great. Awesome. Where do I sign? Like, there are going to be clients like that. And you just have to, you just have to know who they are and deal with it accordingly. If you don't feel comfortable getting into the price on it, you can just say, you can give them hey, listen, they have a bunch of different services. So it just depends on what interests you. That could be the easy answer. Like for instance, if they do an assessment, I know that there's a fee. It's a couple $1,000s. But again, like I don't want to speak for them, but let's just get you on a call. And then I'm sure the person on there will tell you exactly how much it is. But like, even your CPA, to do a single form, your 1040, and file your taxes with you, is charging you like $1,000. Let's just be honest. So for someone to be able to hop in there and get rid of your tax liability by implementing, detailed, complicated strategies, they're not expecting it to be something super cheap. That's just unrealistic. So anyone who's paid substantial taxes in the past knows what it costs to try and not pay taxes. So that's just for you to kind of think with that. But yeah, Mitch is probably right. Like, unless you know that client really well, maybe don't. You probably don't want to get into all the details on price. Awesome.
Right.
Okay, so then,
like Kurt said, if you have to, basically it's 40%.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. So Rupert is asking about iDecide. So his question is, can we send over the codes for all the unique presentations for each company? Not all the companies have an individual iDecide. There is a better iDecide right now, which sends you through kind of like the client through a pick your own journey. sort of process with iDecide so they can land on whichever item is most interesting to them. I know from having talked to some of the owners and CEOs of some of our partners, there are many of them that are interested. But as it stands right now, the only company that has their own iDecide other than Better is Tributin, which is our research and development partner. So yeah, more to come. More to come on that. Lots and lots and lots of stuff to come. Okay, so then Suzanne is asking, what if I have both W-2 and 1099? Beautiful, because Mike was telling us that they have some really cool strategies also that work for W-2 employees as well. Details, get into a conversation with Mitch on the sales team, and they'll dive into potential and what that could mean. Again, though, like, recognize that just like your CPA is not going to give you tax advice without having information, neither is PTA. Like, PTA is not going to just give you off the cuff. Do you notice that every YouTube video you've ever seen with a CPA or lawyer starts with, I'm not giving you legal advice, or I'm not giving you tax advice? That's the first thing that they say, because if they don't know your situation and know that what you're saying is correct by looking at a document, they're not going to tell you anything. So just know that you got to get someone actually in there, and then they will obviously, get some real high quality help. So I think that's all the questions. Any last question before we hop out? Bridget?
Bridget's got another one.
Go ahead, Bridget.
I actually was laughing at myself so hard I forgot what the question was. I'm like, not another question. I'll think of it in a second. Sorry. It was a good one too. It really was.
That's awesome. Oh, Miguel, cool. Our current iDecide Better interactive presentation mentions that platform records help in expense reduction. I believe this is aligned with PTA. Can you give some examples? So CFO services would encompass an action called expense reduction. Basically, Stephanie mentioned on the last call that they have different tiers of accounting. So basic, advanced. What's the other one? There's like 3 tiers, right, Mitch? I don't remember what they're called. But whatever they are, there's 3 tiers, and one of them includes,
yes.
one of them includes CF fractional meaning a portion of or part of. Like if you need a fractional CFO, which would be someone who in a part-time capacity is doing the role of a CFO, that is what expense reduction is kind of covered by. Like big companies hire a CFO. That CFO's job is twofold. Make sure all the accounting, bookkeeping, taxes are 100% right, and then find ways to reduce expenses. That is their job. That's what they do. And by reducing expenses, they might also be looking for fraud. They might be looking for, waste, but waste kind of isn't a reduction of expenses. So that's really what a job of a CFO is. So PTA has a tier of service on client accounting services, which covers CFO services. So when they hop in there, what they're doing is they're looking around to find, hey, you are like it's a terribly horrible example. Good, Bridget, I'll get to you. But Mitch just gave that example. Oh, I'm out of focus. There we go. Mitch just gave the example of some CPA who, what was it? I feel like Stephanie told me on the tax return, they put like the son on twice or the husband on twice.
Yeah. So what
they
happened
were
was
taking doubled income.
Yeah. So the client was paying twice on $200,000 worth of revenue, right? Which is like it's a flat 50 or 60 grand right out of her pocket. And it was just an error on the tax form. Literally just an error.
Yeah. Well, and those kind of things, the point is the CFO is going to find those. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to find where they're going to find where a client is paying more. God, you and I are right on the same timeline. There you go. Mitch, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So the company I was working for, we were doing about 24 million in gross revenue, and the founder thought, and we had an in-house CPA and an in-house bookkeeper, and he thought we were at a 10 to 15% EBITDA on 24 million. And it turned out when he brought the CFO in, the fractional CFO, that we were actually losing money. And had he not brought that guy in, because we had to make an immediate shift and we cut a whole bunch of expenses. We changed the way we did some things. But had we not done that, we could have literally just ran out of money. Right? It doesn't matter how much money's coming in. If you don't have enough money to pay your bills, you're out of business. And that's where we were when we had an in-house accountant and an in-house bookkeeper. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and he mentioned EBITDA there, which is basically it's like it's profit in a sense before a certain couple things. Like one of them is taxes, another you don't want to I don't want to get into a whole bunch of stuff there because I don't want to give you further terms that you might not know. But the whole point is you're looking at what a lot of companies look at in terms of how much of this is profit. What amount of this the company makes is actually profit. So, yeah, and if you don't look at those numbers and you don't have someone looking at them, you're gonna have a very hard time finding any kind of waste. So that's what that is. So, Bridget, her question is like, go through all that. Like, what does that mean? What does the client have to do to go through all this work to find savings? It's not like it's a crazy amount of work, right, Mitch? It's like maybe at most between appointments and everything, maybe it's 10 hours at most. But that's including a couple
year,
meetings.
Really.
A year. That's what I mean. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for
So
sure.
if it's
We try to make it as easy as we can on the business owner, and that's one of the reasons why when they say they have a good CPA, we're kind of happy about that because then there's a lot less work for the business owner and for us because we'll have what should be good numbers.
That's a good point. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Great. Well, that's the last question we're taking. If you have any more, Mitch, you want to throw your contact info again in the chat so that everyone knows how to get to you. I want everyone to understand though. Mitch has made this clear on every single call. He wants to be a resource for you. So reach out with client questions. Reach out. Who do you know that is actually a qualified potential prospect for PTA and get all of your questions you have about PTA answered. If you don't have any questions and you just need some help, like how should I approach him? You know, you can talk through that with some of us and we're happy to help you. We really want to get some of you moving on this. And I know some of you have already gotten started on this process. So it's very exciting, but I want you to recognize something. There's only a couple days left of this month, 8, 9 days, something like that. You're getting close to the end of the year now. At a certain point here, I don't know, did he say it's September? I think it's September 1, they put up their rates, right? PTA puts up rates?
Yeah, we're talking about raising the rates because the closer to the end of the year, the more crammed it gets and it gets difficult for us.
So your clients don't have to pay more money. Don't make your clients pay more money because you're scared to reach out to them. So, push through any kind of internal fears or questions you might have and talk to your clients. It's only something that they despise paying every single year with every bone in their body. It's only the thing that most people that make money hate more than anything else. So you happen to have a solution to that. So I would just look at it from that angle and really decide that you're going to reach out to some of these guys because think of if you save them a couple $100,000 in their taxes, what are they going to do with that? If you're sitting there offering investment services, or let's say you're a realtor and you're looking at helping them buy a house, maybe it's an investment property, that a couple $100,000, $50,000, you got it down for a house, you've got a notable investment they could do. There's all sorts that you're able to then do with the money that you free up by them saving on their taxes. So lots of potential. And really at this stage, folks, you know enough. There's been enough training. Yeah.
You've got, somebody sent me a text, which is a question, but this is really a question more for you. It's, he's brand new and wants to sign up for Better Pro. And so can you show someone real quick how to do that?
Yeah, no problem. Let me just show. Okay, so if we're back over here, let's go back into Better. So you're going to go to your betterinncome.com. Okay, so betterinncome.com, and then come over here to where it says subscriptions. You're going to, so right up in the top banner here, you'll see where it says subscriptions. Click there. And then it says subscriptions here, how to subscribe to Better. And then you just click pick a plan right in here. Click pick a plan. It sends you just to the sales page, and you can just click sign up now. So you click sign up now, and then Better Pro is the plan to be on. There's no question. I almost wish that we didn't do Better Plus because it's so lame. But here's the thing: if someone is brand new, they just don't have any concept of what Better is, and they want to go the route of least commitment, this is where they could start. But go to Better Pro, $15 a month, and then hit subscribe. And then you'll just be brought over here to a cart page, and then you fill out your info for Better, and then your build, we auto bill everything each month, and it's just $15 a month, and you get access to all these sales calls, and like as an example, when you're in here, this Better Pro section, we've already built out. There's a whole feed here going on of like we gave people goals for the week. Here's all the premium content here. We're starting to build out an actual sales course from everything we've covered. The East and West sales calls here, the East Coast sales huddle at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, and then, chat, as well as a bunch of all the features that you get access to. So there's a lot here that that only pro members get, and I think our pro members are they're going to outstretch our non-pro members 10-1. There's no question. You'll get 10 times more out of Better if you're pro. Look at Miguel. He's nodding his head there. So what Bridget was saying earlier today, you're gonna outstretch everyone else in Better by leaps and bounds. There's not even a question. So if you're serious about making the most out of not just Better, but also your core focus, whatever that is, Better Pro is really designed to handle that.
So Curtis, the question he asked is that the agent code, he's in Advantage as well as Better. So the agent code would be the Better one. Is that correct?
Better. That's right. Your Better agent code. Yeah, Vantage is an entirely separate, completely disrelated company. There is no connection between the two companies at all. Better is a completely separate company. So you use your Better code, but obviously Better Plus and the sales training you're getting in that will massively help you in the financial services industry. There's no question. So yeah, with that, great question. Glad you asked it. We want everyone to sign up for Better Pro. There's no doubt that the guys that are working with, our team they're getting so much more value out of Better. They're starting to see how do I actually incorporate Better into my core focus. Also, that includes how do I incorporate PTA into what I'm doing as a financial advisor. I'm sitting down working with clients. I'm doing financial needs analysis. You're getting enough information that you should see all the clients that need tax planning as well. But better than that, this is the way to think of this. I want you all to think in your head, okay, think of everyone that you know, and now think of the ones that you wish you could get in front of, the ones who make the most money, the ones who have the most influence. I want you to be, are you thinking of all of them? Think of how many of them are high income earners. And if they're high income earners, do they need tax planning? Go to them, talk to them about tax planning. Talk to them, use the script that we just talked about today, and go talk to them about their biggest problem that they have financially speaking. It is their biggest problem. There is no close second. The IRS is the biggest business partner most business owners have. They're the one that takes their unfair share every single year, no matter what. So help them and let that be the door opener to get in to do a full financial needs analysis. I have a couple clients that I've worked with recently that the door opener was Prosperity Tax Advisors. It was the way that I got in the door. I talked to someone this morning. Get this. He hates taxes so much that he puts his money into, like, he hates taxes on all sides. He hates taxes when his money grows. He hates it today. So he's very interested in hearing about PTA because, like, he makes millions a year, and the concept of sending money to the government is just he described it as the most repulsing thing he has to do every single year. Well, that's how I got into the conversation. And then like right following that, I was like, I also know of some investment strategies that could benefit you, that you put the money in and it grows without being taxed. And he was like, I'm interested in both of these things. So do you see how that works? You see how you can use it as a door opener? It's the easy, obvious way to start talking about the topic of investing with tax benefits, is to tell them, hey, you're paying too much in taxes. I have some ideas for you. See what I mean? So utilize this. Use this to open doors for whatever other business you have, whatever your core focus is. And yeah, make a bunch of money, help people save a bunch in taxes, and help them funnel that to whatever is most important in their life that having more money would help. All right? I hope this has been beneficial to everyone, and I want to see huge volume from this better group here toward PTA. Let's kick it into high gear. Awesome, all. Appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
Take care, buddy.